Hi guys, my name is Sam, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. Australia is one of the most magical places on Earth. It's the smallest continent, a land of eternal summer with unique flora and fauna. Its very location is unique. Australia is the only country in the world that occupies an entire continent. Many people dream of this enchanting country, isolated from the rest of the world as a place to chase their dreams. But in our story, one grand dream was not meant to come true on March 5, 2021. Jasmeen Kaur finished her work shift and headed to the car park. A young man approached her and called her aside. Jasmeen knew him, so she followed without fear. The next moment, he grabbed her by the neck with his strong hand and forcefully placed her in a nearby car. Jasmeen resisted. She tried to scream and asked to be let go, but the choking pressure on her neck cut off her oxygen. She went limp, and the abductor placed her in the car. He hurriedly got behind the wheel and drove away. 18-year-old Jasmeen came to Australia from India in pursuit of her dream. After her father's tragic death, she dreamed of becoming a nurse to help people. She wanted to obtain a quality medical education with her mother's blessing. She joyfully accepted her aunt and uncle's offer to move to Australia. Thus, she settled in Adelaide with her close relatives and successfully enrolled in university. Studying was hard due to the heavy workload. But Jasmeen was persistent and goal-oriented, never straying from her dream. She never missed a lecture, read mountains of textbooks, and helped her classmates with notes. Thanks to her perseverance, she earned the respect of her professors and became a role model for her peers. Jasmeen Kaur's relentless determination not only allowed her to study, but also to find a job to gain practical experience. 2 years into her studies, Jasmeen Kaur landed a student nurse position at the Southern Cross Homes Hospital in Plympton North, a suburb of Adelaide, at a university social event. Jasmeen met Tarikjot Singh. The two quickly struck up a friendship, both being from India. They had a lot in common to talk about. Tarikjot Singh came from an ordinary Indian family after finishing school with flying colors. He aimed for a better education and moved to Australia to pursue a bachelor's degree in information technology. A kind and empathetic young man, he studied hard and worked to afford a comfortable living in the bustling city. The young people spent a lot of time together, hanging out at work and catching up at cafes between university lectures. Over time, their friendship blossomed into a romantic relationship. By April 2020, the young couple was no longer hiding their relationship and started planning a future together. Jasmeen was smitten with TJ's attention and care. He continuously expressed his devotion and love. Initially, it seemed like he was just very caring, but gradually his attentiveness became more intrusive. Tarikjot started inquiring about Jasmeen's every move, justifying it by saying he was concerned for her well-being. Secretly, he began checking whom she was interacting with on social media and then started demanding reports on her every step. Jasmeen felt that Tarikjot's behavior had crossed all boundaries, but he managed to convince her every time that his total control was purely out of love and care. He would apologize and promise not to invade her personal space without reason, but these were just empty promises. Over time, Jasmeen felt increasingly suffocated in her relationship with Tarikjot. He strongly opposed her interactions with family and friends. This isolation deeply hurt her, leading Jasmeen to make a crucial decision to end the relationship and free herself from the pressure with her family's support. Jasmeen informed Tarikjot that she was ending their relationship. He reacted with fury, screaming, cursing, and threatening retribution against her family. Jasmeen was emotionally drained. She took leave and went to stay with her mother in India. But even there, Tarikjot did not leave her alone from afar. He used emotional blackmail, threatening to end his life. Tarikjot took drastic measures to capture his ex-girlfriend's attention. At one point, he attempted to end his life by consuming several packs of sleeping pills, recording the act, and sending the video to Jasmeen, hoping to elicit pity and compassion. However, his plan backfired, and instead of winning her back, he ended up in the hospital under medical care after receiving the necessary therapy. Tarikjot returned to his job and studies. It appeared he had accepted the breakup with Jasmeen and started a new life without her. But on March 6, 2021, Jasmeen Kaur did not show up for work as evening fell, and darkness enveloped the streets. A car swiftly made its way through the city, adeptly avoiding surveillance camera. The car came to a stop. The young man exited and helped the girl out. She was weak from the prolonged lack of oxygen with cold deficiency. He retrieved tape and a cable from the trunk without a word. And with brute cruelty, he sealed her mouth and eyes with the tape, causing her eyelashes to stick together and pulling tightly on the delicate skin of her face. Then the man tied her hands behind her back. She writhed in fear. Silence, there was nowhere to run. He pushed her, and when she fell, he tied her legs with the same cable. The victim moaned and squirmed on the dusty road. Her long dark hair tangled and her clothes became dirty. After binding her legs, he grabbed her hair and with a swift slash cut across her throat, the victim went silent. He placed the knife in a bag and carelessly lifted the immobilized girl off the ground into the trunk. Closing the lid, he lit a cigarette. He took a few puffs before getting back into the car to continue his drive. He drove through the evening and all night. Only in the early morning did his car stop at Death's Peak. The man dug a shallow grave, removed the victim from the trunk, and laid her in the ground. Thus, the young woman was buried alive by her abductor, but she was still alive. Her eyes didn't see the horror of her situation, lying in the cold earth trying to breathe. Her nostrils filled with fine sand, the weight of the soil pressing down on her. She was unable to move. Fear and the realization of complete helplessness took over her mind. She could only moan briefly. Then she fell asleep forever. So easily. And simply one person decided they had the right to determine another's fate, but evil must and will be punished. On March 6, 2021, Jasmeen Kaur did not show up for work at the Southern Cross Care elderly home in North Plimpton, where she worked as a nurse without any prior warning. Her supervisor contacted her family on the same day she was declared missing. A search began. Surveillance footage from that evening was reviewed, but there was nothing that could aid the investigation in finding Jasmeen Kaur. The last time the young nursing student was seen was leaving her job at Southern Cross Home Homes in Plimpton. North, around 10 p.m. on March 5th, Tarikjot Singh quickly became the prime suspect with a motive, especially since Jasmeen had filed a harassment complaint against him with the police just weeks before her disappearance. When first questioned by police on March 6th, Singh claimed he couldn't remember the last time he saw Jasmeen Kaur and insisted he was at home on the night of her death. The following day, Singh informed the officers that Jasmeen had taken her own life and that he had buried her in the Flinders ranges. He led the police to the burial site, where they discovered Jasmeen's shoes, glasses, and work ID badge in a trash bin, along with zip ties. She was exhumed 2 days after Tarikjot Singh was interrogated by the police at Maralta Creek, 40 kilometers north of Hawker, approximately 100 mi from the road and nearly a 5-hour drive from the location he allegedly took her. Her Tarikjot Singh was arrested and held in custody pending trial. Investigators determined that in the days leading up to her disappearance, Tarikjot Singh had meticulously prepared for the abduction and death of the young woman. It was found that on the day of the kidnapping, Singh had purchased zip ties, tape, and rope from a hardware store. Searches conducted at the residence where Tarikjot lived uncovered several SIM cards and phones, proving that had carefully planned the abduction, even going as far as changing his SIM card to fabricate an alibi on the night of the abduction. Singh switched cars with his apartment neighbor and asked him to cover his shift, then headed to the elderly home where Jasmeen was working that day. Initially, Singh was charged with failing to report a death to the coroner before the charge was upgraded to homicide following the investigation. 21-year-old Tarikjot Singh from Kerala Park was charged with the homicide of 21-year-old Jasmeen Kaur after her body was found buried at Maralta Creek. Singh first appeared via video link before the Port Augusta Magistrates Court on March 9th, where Judge Gregory Fisher ordered the accused's name and face to be withheld for 30 days. In July 2021, hearings in the Jasmeen Kaur case began under Judge Adam Kimber in the Supreme Court. It emerged during the hearings that Singh was in Australia on a student visa and had spent time in a short-term psychiatric ward that year. Prosecutors told the Supreme Court that 21-year-old Jasmeen Kaur was assassinated a month after she reported her ex-partner Tarikjot Singh for stalking her. Singh pleaded guilty to the of Jasmeen Kaur in March 2021, and the details of his crime were outlined during the sentencing. Prosecutor Carmen Mato stated that Jasmeen Kaur endured absolute terror after Singh abducted her from workplace in Adelaide on March 5, 2021. The court heard Jasmeen Kaur suffered an extraordinary level of cruelty after her former boyfriend kidnapped her, bound her with tape and zip ties, and buried her alive with her eyes bound and conscious at Death's Peak near Hawker in the Flinders Ranges. Evidence provided by the pathologist who conducted Jasmeen's autopsy indicated that Singh made superficial cuts to her throat, but these did not cause her death. An autopsy report presented showed Jasmeen Kaur died on March 6, 2021. Several hours after being buried, horrific details emerged during the sentencing at the Supreme Court. Prosecutor Carmen Mato stated she had to be acutely aware of her hopeless situation, and she must have consciously suffered from what can only be described as absolute terror. Mato also mentioned that the act was inefficient, and Jasmeen Kaur was made to suffer. It is unknown when her throat was cut, unknown when and how she ended up in that grave or was placed there, and unknown when she was dug out, other than the accusation suggests that it must have happened while she was still alive and being prepared for burial during the initial investigation into Jasmeen Kaur's death. Tarikjot denied any wrongdoing, continuously asserting that she took her own life. However, Judge Adam Kimber stated that Singh prepared a series of calculated steps over a certain period of time to commit the crime. Prosecutor Carmen Mato informed the court that Miss Kaur had filed a police report claiming that Tarikjot Singh was stalking her. On February 9th, about a month before she was assassinated, she said that Singh began cold and clinical planning of Miss Kaur's death after their relationship ended. The manner in which Jasmeen Kaur was murdered, indeed, involved an extraordinary level of cruelty. She added Martin Anders, the attorney representing Singh's interests, stated that 2 months before the tragic incident, the Singh and Kaur families had a meeting that resulted in a negative decision regarding the continuation of their relationship. He also mentioned that Singh's reasoning was seriously impaired following the end of their relationship. This is not someone who was really well grounded in terms of understanding what desire fires were at play, how these issues evolved, and how he might have properly reasoned. In the circumstances he faced, the lawyer explained, he took actions that destroyed not only her life, but his own Martin. Anders commented on Singh's deteriorating mental health and his experiencing hallucinations following Jasmeen Kaur's demise. However, a psychiatric evaluation concluded that Tarikjot Singh was fully sane at the time and he was charged with assassination. During the sentencing, the court heard about several messages Singh wrote but never sent to Jasmeen in the days leading up to her death. These messages contain statements such as, "You're bad luck that I'm still alive, just wait and see. Every one of them will get an answer, and deep inside what I feel but can't overcome." The prosecution informed the court that Singh downloaded a map of surveillance cameras across Adelaide the day before, abducting Jasmeen. Ms. Mato said that surveillance footage showed Singh purchasing zip ties from a hardware store on the afternoon of the abduction. She also mentioned that Singh removed the SIM card from his phone, placed it in another device, and left it at his home to engage cell towers that would create the impression he was at or near his home. He punished her, a defenseless, innocent girl, for rejecting him. She said, according to the prosecution, he forced her into the car, kept her on the backseat seat or in the trunk, took her a significant distance, ended her life, buried her, and disposed of any evidence that could implicate him in this crime. Judge Kimber sentenced him to life imprisonment, without the possibility of parole. His lawyer described the act as a crime of passion and appealed for a more lenient sentence, but the request was denied. Relatives of Jasmeen, who was buried alive, were present during the sentencing. In her state, Jasmeen's mother welcomed the verdict today. "I don't feel happy. I wish I wasn't making this statement and that Jasmeen was still here with me." She said Rachel Keir told the court she is haunted by the thought of what her daughter Jasmeen Kaur experienced in her final moments. "I go through the terrible sequence of events wondering when she realized she was in mortal danger." The statement read, "There was no one to save her. She spent her last hour on this earth with the worst of humanity. Jasmeen is gone, and I am devastated with grief. She was a precious little girl." Rashpal Kaur stated that Singh was obsessed with Jasmeen, who had rejected him 100 times. She lost her life because Tarikjot wanted to force her into marriage and force her into a relationship with him. She said Mrs. Kaur stated she would never forgive Singh for what he had done. "Justice has prevailed and I cannot not express our relief. We welcome the sentence, but what I can say is that my family and I have already begun serving a life sentence, and we will have to spend the rest of our lives without Jasmeen." Jasmeen's employer, and those she cared for, described her as a beautiful soul who was kind, sweet, and attentive. Thus, 21-year-old Indian student Tarikjot Singh, who abducted his former girlfriend 21-year-old Jasmeen Kaur from a South Australian nursing home where she worked in North Plympton. Adelaide in March 2021 was sentenced to life in prison for a term of no less than 23 years. Without the possibility of parole, he bound her with tape and zip ties and then buried her while she was still conscious at Death's Peak, near Hawker in the Flinders Ranges. Singh, who was 20 at the time, initially pleaded not guilty to the crime against Miss Kaur, but changed his plea a month before the trial, and the Supreme Court Judge Adam Kimber ordered to serve a sentence of 22 years and 10 months, without the possibility of parole, just slightly more than the mandatory minimum term for ending someone's life in South Australia, which is 20 years. While rendering the verdict, Judge Adam Kimber described the crime as horrific and extremely heartless, stating he was at a loss for words to describe the terror of Miss Jasmeen Kaur's final moments. The terror she must have felt when she was abducted, tied up, and held in the car during the long drive to Moran. Creek is hard to fathom," said Judge Kimber. "I cannot describe the horror that Miss Kaur must have felt when she realized that you were burying her alive." The court heard that Singh did not reveal details about how he abducted Miss Kaur from her workplace or what he did with her in the subsequent hours. However, Judge Kimber stated there was clear evidence that she suffered greatly and was forced to endure a long car ride while bound and gagged. After the sentence was announced, Judge Adam Kimber said it was clear that the crime was premeditated and that Singh took steps to conceal his horrific actions. "The enormity of what you did must have been clear to you," said the judge. "There was time to reflect. There was time to step back from the plan. Yet you proceeded and ended Miss Kaur's life." Judge Adam Kimber told Singh that he was beyond any reasonable doubt satisfied that the criminal was only concerned about himself. "You ended Miss Kaur's life to punish her for her unwillingness to maintain a relationship with you, and for turning to the police." He stated the police had warned Singh about stalking. In early February 2021, less than a month before the crime during the sentencing, the court heard that Singh wrote several messages to Miss Kaur in the days before her death, which were never sent at the trial. A statement Jasmeen Kaur wrote to the police just 5 weeks before her death was read detailing how her overly possessive perpetrator persistently followed her in the street and at her workplace. In the statement signed January 28, 2021, Miss Kaur disclosed that she had been in a controlling relationship with Singh for about 9 months. "He was overly possessive and wanted to control who I spent time with." The document released by the Supreme Court stated Miss Kaur told the police that she ended the relationship on January 4, 2021, but Singh took it badly. "He stated that I had to be with him or else he would try to end his own life." She said during their relationship she mentioned Singh would sometimes get upset if she planned to go out with friends, calling her and demanding she come home. Singh, a citizen of India who came to Australia to study information technology at a university and who also worked at a nursing home, is likely to be deported once he is released from prison. Tarikjot Singh will be about 40 years old when he becomes eligible to apply for parole in January 2044. Jasmeen Kaur became yet another victim of terror from a man. The attentive, sensitive, and kind Tarikjot Singh, whom she loved and trusted, turned out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. And his pathological jealousy and emotional instability cost her her life. A person who truly loves can never harm their beloved. They would take any blow upon themselves in the case of Tarikjot. There's no right answer. Some may see in this story an insult, some incompetence, and others might consider the guy a psychopath. But looking at Jasmeen's story, one can learn at the cost of her mistakes to prevent themselves and their loved ones from making similar ones in the future. Jasmeen Kaur's case is a heart-wrenching story of toxic obsession and crime that shook the Australian backcountry, following the disastrous end triggered by the boyfriend reprehensible behavior. Thanks for watching, guys. That was Sam with you. Subscribe to the channel. There are many shocking stories ahead.